welcome to everybody, and thank you for joining our event with James from Superstructures. Thank you for hosting this for us today. So I just wanted to a couple of housekeeping. The event will be recorded. Please make sure that during the presentation with James that your mic is on mute. There will be a chance to ask some questions at the end. Feel free to either type them in the chat function, or if you're feeling brave, come on, unmute and ask the questions live. So I'll just hand you over to James. Thank you, James.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. So my name's James Potter. I am Managing Director of a company called Superstructures, which is based in Ipswich. We also have an office in Cambridge. We are a company of structural engineers, which basically means we design buildings, and we design buildings using maths, physics, and common sense is the most important part, I always say to people. Structural engineering is slightly confusing to most people. Some of you will have heard of civil engineering, and that's probably more, hopefully a bit more on your radar. Okay, so most people that go into structural engineering, they will do a degree in civil engineering, and they will then specialize into structural engineering. So structures is really very buildings focused. Small buildings, large buildings, skyscrapers, that sort of stuff. Civil engineering tends to be a bit more about roads, rail, infrastructure, lots of drainage, probably more bridges though in civil engineering than structures, although bridge engineers tend to be in another specialism altogether. So I'm a structural engineer. My background was not the normal background. My degree was in product design. I always thought I was going to be a product designer. I ended up not being able to find a job for a few months when I came out of university, and I kind of fell into a job in structural engineering, loved it, and then had to do some further learning and some re-qualifying before I could become a chartered structural engineer. So I had a bit of a wiggly route in. Our normal, so wind the clock back probably 2-3 years ago, a normal route in for us when we were looking for new people to join our business was we would be looking for graduates with a BSc or a BEng in civil engineering, okay? And they would come in as a graduate engineer. They'd then probably have about 4 or 5 years worth of working, learning on the job, and then they would be able to sit their chartered exam to become a chartered structural engineer. Okay, so that was the normal route in. I quite liked the other people that came straight from A levels, and they came into their first job, and they might do a part-time civil engineering degree course 1 day a week whilst learning with us. And I was always quite a big fan of that, actually, and I thought those people coming in ended up being really well-rounded engineers actually at the end of their period. But now degree apprenticeships exist in my line of work and others, and so I will talk to you probably a bit more about civil engineering and structural engineering degree apprenticeships, but it's really important to know that they are in other areas of construction as well. So if you want to be a quantity surveyor or an architect, I think Cambridge are now offering a degree apprenticeship in architecture. So it's not just structural engineering, okay? Degree apprenticeships basically mean that you come and work for a company full-time, but you are then released for certain blocks to complete your degree course. In our degree apprenticeship, we have our students learning at Anglia Ruskin in Chelmsford, and they go away for 1 week at a time, 4 times a year. Okay, so 4 times in a year, student will go off to university and they'll do a week's worth of learning at university. The rest of the time they're working with us, but they are doing 1 day a week where they're completing their own studies. And that might be even before lockdown, when COVID wasn't a thing, they were still doing lots of distance learning as a degree apprentice. So they'll be learning, fulfilling their studies and getting their qualification and their degree, but at the same time learning with us. And so we will be teaching them as much as we possibly can about real world engineering, working experience, all those sorts of things, how to deal with clients on the phone. They'll be going out on building sites, they'll be going to look at big building projects, all that sort of stuff. So it's in civil engineering, it's a 4-year course to do the civil engineering part of the degree apprenticeship. You do your 4 years to get your civil engineering degree, and then at Anglia Ruskin, you do an extra year on the end to get a qualification with the Institution of Civil Engineers, which I think is great. So after 5 years, you'll have a degree in civil engineering, you'll have a qualification with the Institute of Civil Engineers, and most importantly for me, you'll have 5 years of working experience, which is fantastic. You have no student debt, and you get paid a salary while you're working. So, I think from our side and from your side, it's a really good route in. It's a great thing to do. So that is my intro. I will hopefully answer some questions. And like I say, really important. It's not just structural engineering, because structural engineering is really is quite specialist. So think about the wider world of construction as well: civil engineering, architecture, quantity surveying, building services, all those sorts of things. They will all be hopefully offering either apprenticeships or degree apprenticeships, and you might have to do a little bit of research to find out who's offering what.
Thank you, James. I've got a question here from Alison. Why would you recommend your industry to a young person?
Okay, so I would recommend it because construction, the world will always need the construction industry. Doesn't matter if we're building new houses, new hospitals, new schools, new road networks. Construction is always moving forward. So it's a great industry to be in. And the thing that I love about it, well, there's lots of things I love about it most actually, but things that are really good about it are there's huge routes for progression. So a lot of people in construction come in at a certain level. There might be people that are working on site. There might be people more like me who are a bit more office based. But there is a huge route to either move around into different areas of construction, or definitely to move up. So, you can go into a company somewhere. You might be, if one area of their business or one area of construction isn't quite for you, you can move to another one, and there's huge routes for progression up. The other reason I really enjoy it is because there's a great mix. Every day is different. So every building project is different. Every building team is different. I get a great mix of working in the office and working out the office. And the number one reason for doing it is because I get to work on projects, on paper or building 3D models in a software environment. And then I get to go and see them be built and finished. And every time I drive past them in the car, it's a very satisfying thing to do. So there's lots of reasons why I would recommend it.
Same again from Alison. Do you need to have studied engineering at level 3 to get on a degree apprenticeship? If not, what subjects are useful?
So I came pre-armed with that. Every course will be different, right? So you need to go and have a look at the entry requirements of of the course that you want to get on. The civil engineering degree apprenticeship at Anglia Ruskin, for example, entry requirements. So you basically need 96 UCAS points. That could be a BTEC in engineering. I know that we've had a couple of students doing a BTEC in engineering, and they're now working with us. I forgot to mention the fact that we've got 2 degree apprentices working with us. We had one start in September. We had one start September before. So it's something that's working really well and for us and for them. So 96 UCAS points. So you could do some A levels. Historically, a lot of people used to probably do maths, physics, maybe design technology as A levels. They might do further maths or something like that. But they would be the typical subjects that somebody might do at A level if you were taking the A level route. GCSEs, the entry requirements on this particular course, at least 4 subjects grade C or above, including English and maths. Maths is important. They do ask for a grade B or grade 5 and above. Okay, so alternative qualification, BTEC National Certificate Diploma. like I said, 96 UCAS points. But there are all sorts of ways in, and really it's up to you to decide what particular, maybe what company you're going to do your apprenticeship with and what course they would send you to. You know, we like our students to go to Anglia Ruskin, but there are civil engineering degree courses all over the place, and they will probably have slightly differing entry requirements.
Lovely, thank you. Louise has asked, are you advertising for any degree apprenticeships this year? Which companies would you recommend our students to check out for degree apprenticeships in our region?
Okay, so yes, we are, and we plan to have at least one more this year, or maybe two. We're incredibly busy at the moment, and when the pandemic is over, you know, construction is still really, really busy in the pandemic. That's another reason why it's great to work in construction, especially at the moment, because it's an essential service, and we've all been told to get on and work and all that sort of stuff. So it's great. So we're really busy, but even after the pandemic, I think everybody's expecting this real big economic recovery, which is great. So we're expecting to be even busier than we are now. So we will be looking for at least one, maybe two. But there are lots of other businesses. So if you're looking for structural engineering or civil engineering, there are, you know, MLM are another big employer in the region. You can go to people like Atkins, or you can then move to maybe look at some of the big contractors who might also be looking for other types of placements in more building surveying and QSing or design management, construction management, all those sorts of things. So really it's about, I keep telling people, I should have maybe started by telling you this. There's a website called the SJCC, okay? If you Google SJCC Suffolk, it's a really good website. They've got a good careers page. And what we've done there is we have listed all the main roles in construction. So the site-based roles and the professional and consultant roles, like I have. And that would be a really good place for you to start and say, oh, I like the look of that and I like the look of that. Once you have a rough idea of what you might want to do, you can then start looking for companies that provide that service. So if you suddenly decide, oh, actually, I quite like the idea of being an architect, then look at some local architecture companies, get in touch with them and see if they are offering degree apprenticeships.
Lovely, thank you. I've got a question from Ben. Focusing on the routes of progression, what kind of levels or tiers can you progress through, and what's the highest position?
Okay, right. So if you come in as an apprentice, you'll obviously spend your 4 or 5 years getting your qualifications and learning. It depends on where you go. Some companies might have a very set tier system, others may not. We would probably tend to be a bit more flexible. If somebody is progressing really well, then we might push them up those tiers a bit faster. But effectively, what you'd be looking to do is come in as an apprentice, get your degree, and you would then be what's called a graduate structural engineer or a graduate civil engineer. And it's then a case of working towards your professional qualifications. So there are 2 steps. If you're a structural engineer, for example, there are 2 main steps. Number 1 is incorporated engineer, and the second one is a chartered engineer. And I would say that if you can qualify as either an incorporated engineer or a chartered engineer, then you would be probably recognized as a senior engineer in the company that you're working for. And that would mean that you would be taking quite a lot of responsibility. You might be running some teams or managing teams of people within your organization. And then really, I guess the sky's the limit, because once you're in a business and you're fully qualified, you might be an associate in that business, you might be a director, you might do what I did and start your own business and be a managing director or a CEO or all sorts. So you can basically do whatever you want. You can go as high as you like.
Thank you. A question from Alison. What qualities would you expect to see in a potential employee?
I would want to see the educational base. So I would need to see that somebody is, you know, they've got those levels in maths, whether it's a grade B at GCSE or 5, I'd want to know that they have the academic capabilities as a baseline. Not most importantly, but also, you've got to be able to get onto that civil engineering degree course. And that's, if you can't get onto that civil engineering degree course, then you will need to progress in other areas of structural engineering. Potentially, you might be a structural engineer. So I would look for those the base levels. But for me, as important is people's ability to communicate, because in construction, we work in teams. It's all about teamwork. You can't design and build a building on your own. So we work in teams. There might be sometimes 10 or 15 people on a big design team. And you as a structural engineer or an architect or somebody else have got to communicate your ideas to the rest of the design team. Okay, so it's really important that you are able to communicate in writing. You're able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. You're able to go onto a big building site and talk to various different people, communicate your thoughts and ideas. So it's really important. The way that you communicate with people is really important. And your drive to progress and to move forward. So when you are potentially applying for your degree apprenticeships with companies, really important that you stand out. So if you send them an email, your email has got to be well put together. If you put a CV together, I do a bit of work with students talking about how to set CVs out, and it's nice to just have a CV that's potentially just on 1 or 2 sheets of A4, starting with a nice paragraph at the top telling me what you're looking for. That's the most important thing. So it could just be, my name is X and I am seeking opportunities in structural engineering apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships. So those sorts of things. Sometimes it's good if somebody can pick up the phone as well. So if you send your CV in or you send a letter in, it's really, sometimes if you haven't heard anything for a couple of weeks, which you should do, by the way, if they're a good employer. If you haven't, then maybe pick up the phone, give them a call, those sorts of things. So, and when people come in for an interview or they come in for a meeting, it's just nice if people can talk. I know it's really difficult in interviews when you don't, might not have ever been to an interview before. You're probably going to be nervous, but it's really nice if you can just have a bit of eye contact with the person that's interviewing you, and just be able to have a little bit of a chat. I like to chat to people and find out what they do outside of college and what their interests are. And those are so as much as the educational base is important, it's also good to be able to communicate. And so I think that I'm also, this is getting a bit off track now, but I think other jobs, part-time jobs that students might have can sometimes really help them. So if you work in hospitality or customer service, I know you can't really do it at the moment, then those things build your confidence and they build your ability to talk to people that you've never met before. So those sorts of things, if you can start doing those things when we all come out of lockdown, I would highly recommend that.
Thank you, because I think that leads on to Louise's question. She's asked what you select and how do you select future recruits from looking at their CVs and their covering letters. So again,
that's what it's about. For me, I wouldn't necessarily just pick the ones with the best grades and the best qualifications. I'd consider what they're doing outside of college. If you have somebody, for example, that shows they're quite driven and they're looking to really progress, they might be doing well at sport, they might have captained a sports team. That means that they're quite forward thinking, or they might be having a part-time job, like I say, in hospitality, or working in a difficult role somewhere, or they might be doing some charity work, something like that. Those little things stand out for me, and it means that I know that when they come in for interview, they'll probably be quite switched on young people.
Another question. We've just come out of a presentation with a lady from the beauty industry in Ipswich, and she mentioned that she would welcome a video introduction.
Okay.
Would you be interested in potential employees sending you a short film about themselves if confident enough?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's a great idea, actually. It's a great idea. I haven't seen one yet. You could be my first one, somebody.
There you go.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, because and now with technology as it is, it's really, really, easy to do. It might be a bit daunting to do it, but we've all got more used to it, especially over the last few months or probably a year actually now. But yes, that's a great idea, and it would definitely make you stand out as long as you did it right.
So you would be happy then to receive a short video from somebody?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that'd be great. Yeah, really good.
Okay, thank you. And what do you think about virtual work experience at the moment?
I think it's very difficult. I think it's great if people can do it. I've worked with a couple of organisations who have been doing great virtual work experience, and they've been putting together. It's a big contractor locally, Morgan Sindall. They've been putting together whole week's worth of virtual work experience, and I've been coming into those as a specialist and talking to them about the structural engineering part of their project. It takes a lot of organising, but they've now got a great template to work with. So that's great. So I think virtual work experience is brilliant. We are struggling to offer virtual work experience at the moment because we're very much, we get work experience students in normal times, and it's quite software based at first, and we like to take them out on building sites and look over their shoulder and really get them stuck in working. And so doing virtual work experience for us at the moment is quite challenging, although I would sincerely hope that within a couple of months we might be able to get back to something a bit more normal. But if you can find a good provider of virtual work experience, then fantastic. And I think aside from virtual work experience, what the pandemic has facilitated is a lot of things like this, which have been absolutely fantastic. Opportunities for people like me just to be able to jump in, talk to young people for half an hour. It's really, really easy to do. You can get great coverage of people, and I think that is something that's great. So not quite virtual work experience, but I think this sort of thing is fantastic.
Yeah, Alison's put, any students interested, Morgan Sindall are currently advertising work experience information. I have seen that, and it's all in our sway that goes out on a Wednesday called What's on Wednesdays. Casey's asked the question, could you provide any virtual work experience providers and companies that are currently offering it? Where can we find this? Casey, I would say look out for that sway, which is called What's on Wednesdays, and that's where all virtual work experience opportunities are. One more, I've got a question here from Michelle. Will you be advertising your vacancy, or should people email their CV and covering letter direct to you to be considered, please?
I would do that. Yes, do the latter. So I would, you can find our website, Superstructures, Ipswich, Google that, take you to our website, and there's an info at address, or there's a contact form. Definitely come through that, and put a nice CV on there and a covering letter. Tell us what you've been up to and what you're looking to do, and yeah, that would be the best. Or a video. I forgot about the video. Of course, the video. Send the video in. That would be a really good way of doing things. Yeah, I think and not just if you're applying to me, if you're applying to other people. Degree apprenticeships in construction are quite new. So like I say, the architecture course, I think, is very, very new. So when you talk to employers, if you decide you want to be an architect and you approach some architecture companies, they may not even be aware of the fact that there is a degree apprenticeship in architecture being offered. And that's a tricky situation to be in. Maybe you could put it in your covering letter. So I've noticed that Cambridge University are offering a new degree apprenticeship course, because 2 years ago, I had no idea. And actually, it wasn't until I came to do a careers fair at Suffolk One, I met somebody from Anglia Ruskin who was a specialist in degree apprenticeships. And that really got me thinking. So even if they don't talk about it on the website, if you're looking for other companies, then sometimes it might be worth still applying to them and just putting in that covering letter about the fact that you're looking for a degree apprenticeship. If you can find a course locally that's being offered, put it in your letter, let them know, maybe educate the employer a little bit. That's definitely worth doing.
Lovely. Has anybody else got any more questions? Would anybody like to come on? Would anybody like to unmute themselves and ask a question? Hello, John.
Hiya, can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
Hi, James. I think you work with Mark, so a chap called Mark, is that right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, just send him my regards if you don't mind.
I will.
But the question is, have you ever taken on an apprentice from one? And if so, if you have, how are they getting on?
So yes, we've taken on two. We had one in we had a new one starting in September 2020, and we had our first one in September 2019. And they're doing really, really, really well. So I think they're really enjoying the experience of working combined with study at the moment. They are obviously only distance learning, but I know they will enjoy getting back to university for 1 week blocks when they do it in the year. But they're doing really well. Liam, our first apprentice, has got really good grades at uni so far as he's worked through, and they're working on live projects all the time, and that's how we like to get everyone started. Really, even if somebody comes in for a week's worth of work experience, by the end of that week, we'd like them to be working on a small but a real live project. So as apprentices, they're working on real projects all the time, and they might be doing small bits of big projects, or they might be doing whole projects themselves, but at the smaller end. We're taking them out on site when we can to see stuff happening, and they are. So at the moment, I've got hardly anybody in my office, but the people that are in the office are the two apprentices and their mentors. So they're still learning, fully engaged, going to the office every day, and I think they're having a great time. But I would say that I think if you saw them, they'd probably say the same.
Well, yeah, thanks for giving them the opportunity. Appreciated.
Good.
Did they attend work experience with you?
One of them did. So the most recent one did. So Lee came for a week's work experience in March, just before lockdown. So probably about 2 weeks before lockdown, he was able to get in. But Liam, in the first instance, just applied. Yeah, just applied. Didn't come on work experience. Had a really good head on his shoulders. Knew what he wanted to do with his future. And yeah, again, not necessarily prompted me to look into degree apprenticeships a bit more, do some legwork, and now we've got that model set up. It's really easy just to bring new people in. Yeah.
Lovely. Alison has said, thank you, James, for giving up your time this lunchtime. It's been very inspirational.
Good, my pleasure. Always great. I'm a really big fan of, for me, for me was that I didn't know anything about the construction industry when I was, until I accidentally got a job in it. And I just thought that working in construction was just working on building sites, which is a great thing to do, but it's not, it's not some people's idea of fun. And I have always wanted to be a designer, and I always wanted to work in an office quite a lot of the time with really up-to-date software and all that sort of stuff. And so I just had no idea about the possibilities that were in construction. So being able to talk to people and just get them to consider something slightly different is a great opportunity for me. So thank you.
So moving forward, are you happy for me to share the video with the people that have attended today?
Yep.
I will also send you a list of those students that have attended your presentation, just so you're aware. With regards to email, is there an email address that I can send on to these young people that have attended today? Is it yours, or would you rather me use a more generic email?
Yeah, if you go through the info one, that'd be great. So it's info@super-structures.co.uk. That would be the best one to come through.
Yep, that's fine. So if I share that, then you might get some more questions, or yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, fine.
Anybody want to come on? I've had lots of thank yous. Tracy Steers said, thank you, James. Valuable information for our students. Louise has said, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed hearing your talk and answering our questions. Ben has said thank you, James. David, thank you very much. Casey said thank you. They're all coming on now. Yeah, everybody's saying thank you for your time. Jake said thank you.
Excellent.
So we'll wrap that up now then. And like I say, thank you very much.
My pleasure, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Hopefully
Bye-bye.
in person. Okay, bye.
Bye.